Hello and welcome to Prog Chattery 777. We are continuing our discussion of Jethro Tull, and we've made it to 1974 with kind of an oddball album, but one that I really like. We're talking about WarChild. Yeah, it is kind of an unusual one in the catalog, really. It was a massive seller. I think I forgot to mention in the last video that Passion Play, even though it is a controversial album and it divides a lot of fans, I think it was a #1 album. I mean, it sold huge, and this one sold massively too. I'm not sure if it went to #1. It might have. It'll be in the book. Again, I've got the special edition on here, so look at all this book. Look at all this information. Oh my goodness, it's a wonderful package. These Tull reissues have been great. I spent far too much money on them, but I don't care. I love having these. And again, Stephen Wilson has done the remastering, and it sounds great. But yeah, the album itself is quite interesting. It is a return to them writing songs again, which they hadn't done since Aqualung, which is the last album of songs. I don't really count Living in the Past because it's a compilation album. And compared to Aqualung, this is totally different. Like sonically, it's really nothing like Aqualung. Obviously, there's a few stylistic things because it is Ian Anderson's songwriting, but it's still in the vein of that progginess, the proggy sound with Passion Play. It's the same sound sources as Passion Play, the same palette. Anderson's playing a heck of a lot of saxophones. This is the last time he played a lot of saxophones, and again, he's kind of critical of his sax playing, but I really enjoy it. I think it sounds great on this album too. I personally think it sounds great on this album. There's other new instruments that we're introduced to. That we get a bit of accordion, courtesy of John Evan. Again, same lineup as Thick as a Brick and WarChild, so I think that's probably why there's a consistent thread of in terms of the sound. And it's notable because it was written right around the time that Ian Anderson was going for a movie project called WarChild. And it's funny, I was always under the assumption that WarChild was the soundtrack to the movie, but that was never the case. WarChild was supposed to be like an accompanying album. Of course, the movie never got it never came to fruition. Although there was a certain amount of planning that went into it. They had apparently John Cleese from Monty Python was penciled in as a humor consultant for it. And I think that's kind of what makes the album a little strange. I mean, I really do like the album, but I mean, in all honesty, I think it's significantly weaker than Thick as a Brick or Aqualung or Passion Play or even Minstrel in the Gallery. Especially Minstrel in the Gallery, I really like that one. And I think the fact that it's a little weaker is just because Anderson his mindset was in this big project that included the film and an album, and he wasn't exclusively focused on writing a great album. Although, like I said, I really like it. I think it is a great album. I think it's a really underrated album. It's one that's grown on me. But the same thing can be said for Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die, because that was supposed to be associated with a stage production, and again, I think that album suffers because Anderson was kind of focused. He had too many irons and too many fires. But like I said, I actually spin this album quite a lot. I'll say this: I like it more than Benefit. I think this is better than Benefit, and I might even like it more than Stand Up. Because it's kind of in the spirit of stand-up. I mean, we're talking about individual songs, obviously, but each song kind of is its own adventure. And the album has many different directions, and it's a very adventurous thing. So yeah, it's good stuff. Let's talk about the CD. The album opens with the title track, WarChild. Again, I really like it. I love the special effects at the beginning. We get the war sirens come in. The sound of coffee or tea cups clanging, and would you like another cup of tea, dear? This is coffee, by the way. I love that. And it's a bouncy little number. Very well orchestrated. I mean, again, David Palmer is doing lots of great orchestral work on this. I think Anderson's vocals are in top form. I mean, he's ripe with all that wonderful character that he was so well known for in these days. Um, yeah, it's a good song. Really like it. Track 2 is Queen and Country. I really like this song too. We get the accordion, the mad accordion, courtesy of John Evan, which is great. Kind of raspy vocals on this one. A little bit. I mean, it almost sounds like it's like a sailor's song, really. And it sounds maybe it sounds on the outside, to an outside ear that it's a patriotic song, but I think it's a rebellious song, really. And I think you could also look at the lyrics on Queen and Country, and you say, is he talking about himself? Since we for five long years, it's been 5 long years since we sold your soul, something like that. There's a lyric along those lines, and you think, could he be talking about making the decision and pursuing the career of entertaining rock and roller? Great song though. Really like Queen and Country. Track 3 is Ladies. This is the folky kind of piece of the album. This kind of takes us back to the classic Tull stuff that might be found on Aqualung. And I really like it. It's again, it's really nicely well orchestrated in that. Lovely vocal performance, and then it kind of goes into a little funky kind of little rocker at the end. But again, lots of saxophone on this, and that's really good. Track 4 is Backdoor Angels. This might be one of the highlights on the album for me. It's really good. We get the slow, dramatic verses that open the album. Wonderful lyrics too. I quite like the lyrics on this song. And it goes into the big heavy sections where we get Martin Barr doing some really unique riffery. I mean, again, it has the typical Tull attributes. It's got the vocals, it's got some nice flute playing in there, some great guitar work in that, but you can tell that he was, as a writer, he was in a different place than he was a few years ago when he was writing songs like Singing All Day or Living in the Past, or any of those earlier songs. You can see the evolution. Even the songs on the final side of Living in the Past. I love how Backdoor Angels segues into the next track as well. We go back into the quiet verse. She smiled and I think she winked her eye. And he gets a little typical Ian Anderson laugh, and he counts us into Sealion, another highlight of the album for me. I really like Sealion. Very high energy. This is very high energy rocking song. This is something that really reminds me of some of the sections on Passion Play. And I love the awkward shuffle that Barrymore Barlow does. Cool time signatures. Again, some lovely orchestration. One of the most orchestrated albums by Tull, I think. At least up until this point. I might be eating my words there. But yeah, Sealion is fantastic. I really like that song. And it's funny too. There's a section in Sealion where I love that orchestra bit. See how we balance the world on the tips of our noses like sea lions with a ball, etc., etc. At the carnival. And the way he sings that, he kind of sings it, which is more reminiscent of how he sings these days. And it's funny because his voice has changed so dramatically. It's, you hear Sealion, you're like, oh, it totally is the same guy. Because again, he sings it a little bit more, just for that little section. But yeah, his voice is in fine form here. Like I said, this is one of the peak eras of his vocals, I think. Then we flip the album over. I do have this on vinyl, but this to me is the definitive package for it. Anyway, side 2 starts with Skating Away on the Thin Ice of the New Day. This is the famous song on the album. Originally recorded during the Chateau Disaster sessions in France. The missing album between Thick as a Brick and in Passion Play. And it is really good. Again, another highlight of the album. We get really four extremely strong tracks right in a row, and it's fantastic. Great example of Ian Anderson's guitar playing, and it's lighthearted, it's fun, it's got a great hook to it, beautiful melody to it. It's so uplifting. Skating Away, it's an essential Tull track. I believe they opened with it a few times. I might be wrong. I gotta get my Tull set lists back. It's been a while since I've gone into a big research about that. But Skating Away is wonderful. Classic Tull, classic Anderson. Great melody. We get track 7. This is track 2 of side 2. Bungle in the Jungle. This became a big hit over here in the North American continent. I mean, it's pretty good. I don't think it's quite as good as some of the other stuff on the album. It's kind of continuing that theme of animals, and comparing animals to people, like that theme from the Missing album, Chateau Disaster era. Although I don't think Bungle in the Jungle was a part of that. Let me just double check real quick. No, there was a track from the Chateau Disaster called Law of the Bungle, but not Bungle in the Jungle. It's a guilty pleasure almost. It's a weird one, but I love the verses, and the chorus is very bouncy. It's a pop song essentially, but it's bouncy, it's catchy, and Bungle in the Jungle, it's good. The chorus is super poppy, but it doesn't bother me. Track 8 or track 3 on side 2 is Only Solitaire. This is where Anderson takes a little stab at the media folks, which is it's nothing he would do these days, I'm sure. But he was young and vigorous and filled with passion, and made the decision to release that song. Musically, it's fantastic. It's like it's like a little song snippet. It's akin to Wondering Aloud or Cheap Day of Return or Slipstream from Aqualung. And quite a tricky little number to play on the guitar, really. I've looked at it before, and it is a tricky little piece, and really good. I mean, musically, it's fantastic. It's just the lyrics might be a little bit awkward, but that's okay. I still like it. Again, it's a songette, so it might be less than a minute, I think. Very short. Then we wind up to track 9. We're getting close to the end of the album. We get The Third Hoorah. This is a really good song. It almost sounds like a rugby chant or something like that. Very high energy. It could be a pirate song almost. Yeah, like Queen and Country is the Navy song, and the Great British Navy song. And track 9 is the pirate song. But funny, the back cover of the album had all these. The band was all dressed in these funny outfits, and that. I could be able to find it now. And I think Barry Barlow is wearing a rugby jersey, a rugby uniform. So I'm not sure if there's a connection there. But it is really good. We get a reprise of the WarChild chorus. We get the lyric of the WarChild chorus. WarChild, dance the days and nights away. Really great. Band is on top form. A lot of really great syncopated arrangements, and I love the syncopation. I love that in the song. It's fantastic. Probably would have been good to end the album on that, because we get that nice reprise of the WarChild chorus, right? But alas, that's okay, because it does close on a pretty strong song. I really like Two Fingers. This is the oldest song, I think. It dates back to the Aqualung times. Originally it was called Lick Your Fingers Clean. That's what it was. And this is dramatically rearranged, and really it's fantastic. We get the accordion again, which is a real staple of the sound on it. And yeah, I mean, it does work really well as a closer. I think it has that sense of grand finale to it to wrap the album up. And yeah, and there you go. I mean, essentially it is kind of a hodgepodge of fresh songs, but you could also look at it and compare it to Stand Up and say, it's every song is a new little fresh direction. It is very adventurous. But it's not refined. It doesn't have the refined edge that something like Minstrel and the Gallery has, which we'll be talking about next. I should mention, of course, CD2 has of this particular package has a whole bunch of there's some other songs that weren't included. There's some orchestral recordings courtesy of the orchestral arrangements of the melodies and themes of a lot of the songs, and I think that would have been the soundtrack to the film that was never done. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. I like the bonus tracks on some of the other albums a little bit better, the other reissues. But yeah, all in all, this is a good album, and I think it's underrated. It's coming right off the heels of Thick as a Brick and Passion Play, which are obviously two massive prog epics. So for that reason, I think it is a little bit underappreciated. But it's worth checking out because it's a great display of Anderson, again, exploring his songwriting, and the band is full of ideas. There's such a rich tapestry of instrumentation on the album. So check it out. WarChild by Jethro Tull. Kind of a lost gem, I think. But stay tuned next time for one of my personal favorites, another favorite of mine. I mean, they really were on fire in the early 70s. We are going to be talking about Minstrel in the Gallery next, so stay tuned for that. As ever, thanks for listening, and we will see you later for more chats. Okay, take care.